Well, good morning, everybody. We'll change of scenery here. I'm actually in Bemis Woods North Forest Preserve, and that's the far western part of Cook County. Not too far from here is the county line to DuPage County. Had to feed my brother's cat this morning because he and his wife are out of town. They live not too far from here, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to come over here and take a little hike. Got a ton of rain last night. We also had west and south of Chicago tornadoes. Salt Creek, which flows right through here, is it's running pretty quick. So we'll put up some images and some video of that. But today I want to talk about something that I just saw an article about. And this is, I mean, people have too much time on their hands or something, but there are folks in Colorado circulating a petition. And that petition is to enact legislation that would charge a fee for taking wildlife photographs in the state of Colorado. And the proposed rules would require a yearly permit. You'd be required to have that permit regardless of whether you are on public or private property. So I'll put a link to the article down in the description. It's on Petapixel. Now the thing about this is apparently, and I did a little bit of research, and it looks like Colorado, when you get a ballot initiative on the ballot, I think it's binding. In other words, if they propose a law, then the legislature has to pass it. Could be wrong about that because it's a little amorphous. Here in Illinois, we have what are called referenda. They're ballot referendums, and they're advisory, so they're non-binding. Essentially what it says is, hey, lawmakers, we want you to do this. And the lawmakers can look at it and they can go, well, that's a good idea. Or they can say, no, there's some reasons why we don't want to do that. But if you read that article, well, what's the difference between this and having to have a fishing or a hunting license? And boy, if you put a little bit of thought into that, there's a huge difference. So if I am a nature or wildlife photographer and I go to Colorado, their state parks charge an entrance fee. Illinois doesn't. It's actually kind of a problem because people tend to care more about stuff they have to pay for, which is why some of our parks get trashed. But they charge an entrance fee. It's higher for non-residents than it is for residents. So, you go in, you pay the entrance fee, and then let's just say you take a picture of a deer. And it seems like it's not going to matter whether you use a professional camera or you get close enough to something, which you probably shouldn't do. Take out a picture with one of these. So that act of taking that photo in no way increases the costs of maintaining those state parks. It has no effect on them whatsoever. So you're already paying to get into this park, and they want to charge you an extra fee. And then even if you're on private property, which this is where it gets ridiculous because the courts will probably strike this down. Contrast going into that park after you've paid a fee to get in and taking a photo to, if you're a fisherman or a hunter. I used to fish. Haven't done so in a couple of decades, but I used to fish. And I never have hunted, but I got a good friend who every fall his brother and he would go out hunting and get a deer and actually have it butchered and, eat pretty well for quite a while. If you think about this, let's just take a fish. You're a fisher person. You have to buy a license, right? And at least here in Illinois, and it's probably the same in states that have certain species of fish. Here in Illinois, you not only have to buy a license, but if you're going to fish in Lake Michigan or any of these streams that are stocked with salmon or trout, you have to buy a trout salmon stamp, right? So you have to have both of those things. And we also here in Illinois have fisheries, so does Colorado. So you raise fish and you stock various bodies of water and rivers, streams with those fish. So that all costs money. So how does that pay for? The license and the stamp, among other things. Illinois stocks salmon and steelhead rainbow trout in Lake Michigan, and they stock trout in some of the rivers in northern Illinois. Those get fished out very quickly. There isn't a river in Illinois that stays cool enough for trout in the summertime, so anything that doesn't get caught dies. But there's also enforcement you have to pay for, right? So if you go down to the Chicago lakefront, there's usually conservation officers there, and they're checking licenses. So you got to pay for that because you want to catch people who are poaching. If you're a hunter, and imagine again, and most states probably do it this way, in Illinois, let's just say you want to get a whitetail, feed your family for a month or two. You got to get a hunting license, but you also have to get a deer permit. And deer permits are, there are groups of deer permits. There's the archery permit, there's the shotgun and rifle permit, and there's the muzzleloader permit, right? So you have to have those. Not only that, you know, when you shoot a deer, you can't just take that deer and go to your butcher and get it, you know, get it butchered. You got to check in first. So you get a deer tag, and you tie that tag to the leg of the deer. And it used to be they had these check-in stations. In fact, in college, I had a friend who actually worked at these check-in stations during deer season. He had to go in, and the conservation officer had to, you know, record the tag number and so on. Because, again, you want to catch people who are poaching. Way Illinois does it now, it's online. I think you snap a photo of the deer tag and you upload it. But maybe they have stations as well. So all of that stuff costs money, and that's where the license and the permits and all of that stuff, you know, pays for all of that, pays for the enforcement of having conservation officers out in the field, making sure everybody's being honest. That's different. I mean, that's completely different from just going someplace and taking a photo. You are not adding to the cost of running, you know, whatever park it is because you took a wildlife photo. And by the way, this probably doesn't apply. This Colorado thing probably doesn't apply to federally owned land. So most of the western states have a lot of federally owned land, either national parks, national forests, or BLM, Bureau of Land Management properties. And obviously you are not going to be able to enforce that on those properties because it's not the state's. It's probably unenforceable anyway. How are you going to track down everybody who goes into a state park with a camera or a phone and then takes that picture and, you know, publishes it, sells it as stock, whatever? I believe the petition doesn't have an exception for personal use. Well, everybody's going to say it's personal use. I mean, it's going to cost more money trying to track down all the uses of a photograph to make sure that it wasn't on a stock site or you're not selling prints or making money with it. I mean, this is where things, yeah, I'll tell you what, sometimes people just get out of control. Gonna wrap this up here, but you know, this thing, kind of crazy. I think people in Colorado need to get up in arms on it. Make sure you're not signing that petition because that's ridiculous. But I'm going to take a little walk here, get some photos and video. If I get anything interesting, I'll put it up on a slideshow at the end of this. But if this was interesting, useful, please give it a thumbs up. Like to subscribe, please do. Also, I have a Buy Me a Coffee link down in the description, so that would be greatly appreciated. I'm Todd Banner. I will see you next time. you.